Yep, they're chugging along.
Yeah. That's awesome. And they're not
All
even to
right.
the end of the day.
Oh, wait, where'd our green dot go?
Whatever.
No, whatever.
They give it and they take it away.
I know, where'd our green dot go? Okay, I'm going to assume we're live.
I hope there's audio. It worked last week.
It worked last week. It said 0.
Yeah,
but, I can always look up.
You didn't have a dot last week and it was fine.
I can always look this up real quick. Nope, I don't know what I'm doing there. Come on, I know we're live. It says live.
It's a flattering picture.
Oh yeah, no, it's super flattering. Oh yeah, we're live. We have audio. It's just doing the stupid thing where it doesn't have the green dot anymore.
Coupons.
All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3. Hello, lady. Wait, there's no lady.
There's no lady. Let's zoom.
Hello, everybody. We're not on Zoom. We're live. And welcome to another episode of the Media Boat Podcast, your one-stop weekly news source for movies, TV, music, and video games. Not necessarily in that order. My name's Mike. With me is Matt. This is Matt.
I got it with me this week.
With me, this is, hello, for those of you who can see.
Yes, I'm Matt, and his name is Mike, and he's also with me in real meat space here.
Super meat space.
Super meat space. Whatever you call it. Thank you for joining us. This is the Media Boat Podcast. It's everything that he just said it is. It is July the 2nd, 2022. If you're in the U.S., happy long weekend.
Happy post-Bobby Bonilla Day.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Hopefully you're getting millions of dollars for sitting on your butt as well. Welcome to another episode. We're happy to be here. And we're happy to give you a podcast, even though it's a little slower. We're in the doldrums of summer, which means that news is not trickling out as fast as it has been in the past. That being said, we still have stuff to talk about today. So let's get rolling right into it, shall we?
Yes, and we start with the music section. And we start
do.
music with the Billboard Hot 100.
All right, what's hot?
I almost forgot what we were doing here.
Yeah, blanking
with the heat because Cookin' at number 1 is Jimmy Cooks by Drake, featuring 21 Savage. But,
yeah,
Drake, number 1. Congratulations.
Not
again.
The one I thought was going to chart here, but sure. Nope. The rap song on a song on an album full of not rap songs.
Well, okay. So this is Drake's album came out 2 weeks ago. Missed last week. This is all the Drake stuff popping in right now.
Yeah.
But keeping at number 2, as it was, Harry Styles.
Yep.
At 3, First Class by Jack Harlow. At 4, Wait for You, Future. But really, it's Drake and Thames. And rounding out your top 5, It's About Damn Time by Lizzo. Song of the summer.
Every time,
because it's about damn time. As for your album chart, your Billboard 200, no surprise. Honestly, never mind. We don't need to do this section anymore. Drake is your number one section. Is your number one album. At 2, Un Verano Sin Ti by Bad Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
At 3, Harry's House by Harry Styles.
Yep.
Coming in at 4, Proof by BTS. And rounding out your top 5, Dangerous, the double album by Morgan Wallen.
It's back.
It's back.
Anyways,
get out of here. If you didn't like any of those albums, we do have new releases, including Leap by James Bay, Freedom by Journey. Yes, that Journey. Just in time for 4th of July weekend.
Yeah.
Found Light by Laura Veers. The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead by Megadeth. Yeah, that Megadeth. Formentera by Metric.
Yes, that Metric coming back.
Yep. And Cave World by Viagra Boys.
So, yeah, something for everybody?
A little something for everybody.
Yes.
Making a comeback like Viagra Boys.
Sure.
Yes. All right. Let's get into some music news, shall we? And we start in the world of royalties, because in a big win for the publishing and songwriting community, the Copyright Royalty Board reaffirmed the 15.1% headline rate increase in royalties paid by streaming services to publishers for the 2018-2022 period. The rate was decided in 2018, but streaming services Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, Google, and Pandora appealed the following year, arguing that the increase will make their business models untenable in light of the billions of dollars that they already pay in royalties. For the record, Apple Music, the world's second largest music streaming service, is not involved in these proceedings.
Yeah.
While the decision was not immediately released to the public, immediately released publicly, sources and national music publisher
Association.
the Association, President and CEO David Israelite shared that the headline rate will increase to 15.1 from previously 11.4% for that period, as previously decided. The decision comes ahead of a similar decision for the 2023-2027 upcoming period, for which the NMPA has argued for a 20% headline rate.
Hey, if you ask me, this is good news.
So this just means back pay coming in, and then it's just immediately going to jump next year another 2%.
Unless, of course,
or 5%.
The big streamers appeal again, which they probably will.
They probably will. Yeah. Make all their money, and then, we make all this. Okay, here's your little back pay now.
So, yeah, this is good news if you're a songwriter, obviously. And honestly, anything that makes this big streaming companies mad is good news. Because, they're little cheapskates who don't want to pay what they actually need to pay to the artists and songwriters here.
Well, because we don't technically own anything anymore. Whatever. It's all digital.
But, yeah, I thought this was a nice little feel-good story going into the summer here. People getting paid, and it's good to see.
Really? Because I thought this upcoming was a feel-good story of the summer.
I mean, it's definitely a feel-good story. But we'll
get there. All right, but first, we got to pay a visit to the hospital.
Guess so.
Because some couple of people, pair.
Yes.
Well-known artists have found themselves hospitalized, including Poison's frontman, Bret Michaels. Not Bret Michaels was poisoned. Poisoned, the band Poison, frontman Bret Michaels has confirmed the hospitalization that caused the band to pull out of a concert in Nashville on Thursday. Quote, I believe this is from Bret Michaels. Yes.
On an Instagram account.
Instagram, where news breaks everywhere now. Quote, to the incredible fans in Nashville, thank you for all your well wishes. I was truly fired up to get on stage in the Music City and perform, but due to an unknown complication and following hospitalization, it was not possible. I send my deepest apologies for being unable to rock the stage tonight. I'm working on being back 100% very soon and hope you rocked hard with my friends Motley, Leopard, Joan, and Classless Act. That's my good Bret Michaels impersonation.
Yeah, there you go. Workshop that one. Sure. The story doesn't necessarily go into what's going on with them, but of course, hope for a speedy recovery and it gets back to rockin', as they say.
Rockin'.
Yeah, with that W in there.
Yep. All right, rockin', the rawest of rocks.
Yeah, but he wasn't the only one going to the hospital, unfortunately, this week.
No, because if you're paying attention to any of the tabloids,
yes,
or maybe Twitter, because everyone
the radio. I heard this one on the radio.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The radio. That's old school.
I know.
Yep. Travis Barker.
Yeah.
Former drummer, current husband to the Kardashians.
Still current drummer. I don't think he stopped drumming. He guested.
He's just drumming on a different beat now?
Yeah, he just guested on that Avril Lavigne comeback record.
I heard.
So he's around.
So yes, that Travis Barker.
Yes.
Recently went to the emergency hospital on Tuesday due to pancreatitis.
Yeah.
Which doctors believe to be triggered by a colonoscopy.
Yikes.
According to TMZ.
Yeah.
Multiple sources connected to the family have confirmed the hospitalization was a result of a pancreas inflammation, which includes symptoms like nausea, intense stomach pain, and vomiting.
Ugh.
There are no details as to when Barker had the colonoscopy, but reports say it was recent.
Yeah.
So Travis Barker is 46. About time, as you get older in age, you get
You gotta
hold
check
on,
that
you gotta
out. You gotta check that shit out for
Yep.
sure.
He was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center for further care after first checking into West Hills Hospital and Medical Center on Tuesday.
Yeah, so watch everyone in Blink 182 because they're all on alert lately.
They're all getting up there in age too.
Yeah, it's scary that that a routine checkup like this that should be done for men of his age ends up kind of having an unexpected side effect. And of course, just like Bret Michaels, we hope that he recovers quickly and that he gets back to drumming like crazy. But yeah, it's an interesting, especially timing now because he's been everywhere. He's been all over. He's at every award show. He's collaborating with every artist. He's macking on Kourtney Kardashian every chance he gets. So yeah, it's sad to see a big surprise like this. But quick recovery.
Yep.
Anyways,
one last bit of music news. We don't really have to go into it because we've gone over this.
Yeah.
Ad nauseum, but verdict finally. Oh no, sorry. The verdict came in.
The sentencing happened.
The sentencing happened this past week, and R. Kelly, yes, that R. Kelly, officially sentenced to 30 years in prison.
Yes. This is a good call. He'll be there probably for the duration. I doubt he'll come out on the other end of this. I have a feeling, but obviously, well deserved is what I'll say.
Well, so yeah, we already knew that he was found guilty months ago. This was just a follow-up sentencing.
Yeah.
I believe he starts serving it immediately.
Yeah.
So
bye.
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 All right.
But on a lighter note, maybe actually, not sure.
Did you listen to anything?
I didn't. I did some catch up. I guess briefly I'll mention I did go back and finish that Soccer Mommy record. It's good if you like her stuff. You'll like this. It's a little bit more experimental, a little bit more on the electronic side of the 90s influence as opposed to the Sheryl Crow side of the 90s influence that she kind of started with. But yeah, she continues kind of exploring a lot of different 90s themes and with a new kind of 21st century lens. So I like Soccer Mommy still. That record's pretty good. I'm trying to think of anything this week. Not really. I understand you Imagine Some Dragons.
Yes, so you may want to cover your ears because I listened to Imagine Dragons.
It's fine.
Yeah, so Imagine Dragons released a new double album, Mercury Acts 1 and 2.
Yeah.
This 1 hour and 50-minute movie length album.
Nearly 2 hours of Imagine Dragons.
So I only got through about one act of this. But that's not for lack of trying because believe it or not, I actually like this album.
Sure, okay.
This album actually harkens back to the first two albums that Imagine Dragons came out back in, was that 2010 now?
That was, probably a decade ago.
Yeah, almost a decade ago. Where they're not, at least the first act that I listened to, not doing the big bombastic stadium tours. This is not the big bombastic stadium town. This Soundtown. Yeah. This is Imagine Dragons going back to its, can we say emo roots?
No, I don't think they've ever been really emo.
Okay. Rock core roots.
I see maybe a little of a new metal influence.
Yeah, new metal, a lot of like Linkin Park influence.
Yeah, but like with all the edges sanded down.
Yeah.
Like if Linkin Park went in an alternate timeline where they got really into Maroon 5.
Maybe not quite as much, but I could tell you that like high school me would have loved this album.
Sure.
Like inner high school child of me. Yes, I know you're still a child at high school.
Somewhere in there.
I actually really likes this album. At least the first part of this to it. It's got harkens back to, like you mentioned, a lot of that new metal, a lot of that Linkin Park sound, a lot of the Foo Fighters sound where like it's you struggling against the world, but don't worry, there's light and there's hope there. And this is the album for that kind of person and that kind of stage of your life that you're in. I really liked that part of it.
Okay.
I haven't got to the second act. I don't know how it's going to end, but I like where it's going.
You got through the rising action. We need everything to fall apart.
Oh, also they needed to find a place to put the arcane sound.
Of course, the song from the show. Yeah,
Yeah. So enemy.
it's in
So
there.
it's in here.
It's in there.
It actually leads it off, but has nothing completely to do with the other stuff. They just figured that
It's in there.
like we haven't put it on an actual album, might as well put it on an actual album.
Right. That's how they get those streams.
Yep. But yeah, Imagine Dragons, new album, new double album out. If you want to give, if you're older, want to give your inner high school kid something to listen to, could be worth a listen.
All right.
Otherwise, it's
Well, an hour and 50 minutes.
I never got to the second half.
Yeah,
though.
I don't know who has the time.
I know it's too much Imagine
If
Dragons.
you're going on a road trip, maybe.
I don't know. Where are you going for a road trip?
Flying on a plane
To the
maybe.
desert? Are you driving to Vegas to watch Imagine Dragons?
Yeah, then hey, listen to Imagine Dragons on the way to watch Imagine Dragons. Anyways. Okay, well, all right. So it seems like a Imagine Dragons record.
Yeah, it's pretty much what you expect from Imagine Dragons, except it's more taken back to like the radioactive days and not so much the new stadium tour stuff that they've been doing.
Sure. I mean, I can't tell the difference, but maybe that's just me. Anyways,
let's move into some video games.
Yeah, why don't we?
And we start with new releases,
Okay.
including Urikill, the Calumniation.
I gotta tell you, I almost skipped the video game new releases this week.
there's
I
nothing?
almost just put a fat nothing important because I don't care about anything here. Maybe Klonoa. But yeah, I have no idea what Urikill, the Calumniation games even means.
I don't know either. But that's for the PS4, PS5, and Switch. We also have Match Point, Tennis Championships for everything but the Switch to coincide with Wimbledon happening this week.
Yeah.
And lastly, Klonoa Fantasy Reverie Series.
Yes.
For everything. Reverie.
So this is a repackaging, re-release of Klonoa 1 and 2. If you don't know what Klonoa was, baby, I have Klonoa. Sorry, that's a reference from no one. Sorry, let me explain that real quick. There was an ad in video game magazines back when Klonoa came out, 98, I think. That was literally like a couple talking to each other, and it's supposed to be like Klonoa sounds like an STD.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was like, "No, but we have to be careful. I have Klonoa," and then the lady is saying, "But baby, I want Klonoa." Fucked up. Anyways, the 90s were a different time. Anyways, but yeah, so the Klonoa 1 and 2 were PlayStation games originally. I believe one on PlayStation 1, 2 on PlayStation 2. This is their first re-release in a very long time.
Another one of those repackaging re-releases.
They're 2D platformers, but in a 3D world, polygonal platformers. Think like Kirby 64. But yeah, they were pretty acclaimed at the time. I played a little bit of it, of Klonoa 1, and it seems fun.
So just me kind of spitballing here. Random thoughts come into my head every now and then. Is the video game industry all of a sudden becoming the movie industry where they just repackage and like reskin and
absolutely
redo stuff?
We've been here since the Xbox One. No, we've been here since the Xbox 360, because when you consider the HD remaster trend,
right,
that's where it started. Is everybody was like, oh, this thing that we put out last generation, we can put it out again and people will buy it because it'll look better. And it's just gotten worse every generation.
Yeah, I don't know, but like we had like the Spyro remaster, the Crash Bandicoot remaster, Medieval remaster.
That's the thing, is they sold so well that Activision especially got the idea. It's like, oh, we can just keep doing this and people will buy it. So yeah, no, it seems like it works and people love it. Fans love it because they hate to have to drag out their old consoles to play old games. So it's a win-win, right? Question mark.
I don't know.
I mean, yes. No, I agree with you that just like movies, I'd wish that there was more original content. But unlike movies, there's a lot of video games coming out all the time that are accessible in all sorts of different ways. Just look at Steam, just look at itch.io. There's games out there. If you want an itch scratched, no pun intended, there's something out there that will scratch it. It's just that in the big AAA space is where you are seeing all of these big reboots and remasters.
Speaking of a reboot and a remaster,
yes,
God of War.
Yeah,
got a reboot in 2018.
Yeah, but this is about the sequel.
Yes, God of War Ragnarok.
And no one has been looking forward to this more than you. And yet you keep getting pushed around by whether or not it's even coming out this year.
Oh, this is my constantly running joke. I was talking to someone yesterday, actually. Like, oh, what games are you playing? Like, oh, I'm like, I'm playing the waiting game for God of War Ragnarok.
But this story is a little bit of a good story because someone behind the scenes on the project has finally said something.
What? There's been talk?
Yes.
Yes, there has been, because Sony Santa Monica Studio creative director Cory Balrog has Barlog.
He's not the Balrog.
Barlog.
People get his name wrong all the time.
He's the Balrog.
No, he's the Barlog.
Barlog has said the God of War Ragnarok release date hasn't been delayed again, which would mean the game's still on track to arrive later this year, 2022. The PlayStation sequel has been the subject of intense speculation over recent weeks, with a number of reports and claims about the status of the game, resulting in fans expecting an imminent update on the project. Earlier in June, Game Reactor claimed to have heard from European sources that God of War Ragnarok was being delayed to 2023, although Bloomberg subsequently claimed this was not the case. But on Wednesday, Santa Monica Studios' Cory Barlog,
thank you,
asked fans to, quote, please be patient for news on the eagerly anticipated sequel, echoing similar comments that he made back in April. Quote, I promise things will be shared at the earliest possible moment they can be, end quote. He also said that were it up to him, he'd share all the information about the game when he found out about it. But it's not up to me because, you got marketing people and directing people. And
yeah. I did also
CEOs.
see a headline today that I did not click on, but I saw a headline today on the same source that was saying that there was apparently preliminary, or somebody leaked some preliminary plans that the announcement was supposed to happen this week, similar to the announcement that happened right before Horizon, where they were like, here's the deluxe package, and here's when you can pre-order. But ultimately, they decided not to do it this week. So it makes you think whether they just pushed it back a week, or whether something has happened in development or planning that threw that plan out. I don't know.
Or maybe there was stuff big in the news that they didn't want to overshadow.
That's possible. That's possible too. So I don't know. At this point, I'm still fairly confident we will see some sort of news happen this summer about when it's released. I mean,
summers goes until August.
And I still think that this is an end of the year game.
Oh, it's their holiday game.
Yeah, I think it's November or December. I will be shocked. Mark my words here on this podcast. I will be shocked if this gets pushed.
I am waiting for a release date so I can schedule my time off at the end of the year to play this.
Yeah, there you go. I'm playing ahead, right?
I'd like to plan ahead, but they won't give me a release date.
Yeah. Now, this second story, the actual story I copy and paste does not do this story justice, so I'll elaborate on it after you read it. But let's go ahead and read the baseline here.
Okay, so baseline. Nintendo had a shareholders meeting.
Yeah.
And Nintendo, someone asked Nintendo Styles during the Q&A portion of the meeting, one shareholder asked if the company had any plans for new titles or remakes related to past IPs. They then specifically mentioned games by name they'd like to see, including F-Zero, Batten Kaitos, Wario Land, The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls, Trade in Battle, Card Hero, and Chosju Mecha MG. Do note that this shareholder was not just any shareholder.
Yeah.
As he had purchased $40,000 worth of shares to specifically ask a question during the shareholders meeting.
So yeah, that's the part that this story for some reason leaves out, which is fascinating.
Oh, I read this.
And that's why this was the story of the week for me for video games. It's just wild to me that this guy, there's a long con.
Oh, yes.
This guy is a Nintendo fan that happened to, I guess, have a bunch of money, and he decided to invest in the company this way. So he, just to get to a point where he could ask them straight up, hey, where's F-Zero? Of course, their reaction to this, which is also not in the story for some reason, their reaction to this was like, well, dude, we cannot work. We just don't have the resources to work on every single franchise we've ever made. We can't make sequels to every game ever. And the Nintendo thing, we just have to make decisions, when they seem right. So yeah, it's the dedication of this guy and the fact that he was willing to spend so much money in order to basically speak on behalf of forum users everywhere.
Hey, there's F-Zero fans everywhere. There's dozens of them.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though. Out of all the games, though, to lead with F-Zero? Okay.
He wants more Falcon punches.
I get futuristic racing can be cool. I think some F-Zero games have been really neat. I like the Wipeout series on PlayStation. There's cool things you can do with futuristic racing games. But I don't know. Haven't we done it all? Like,
how much more future can we get?
I honestly, at this point, think you just put you put out, I know, again, reboots and remasters, but I think you put out F-Zero 60, a combination of, actually, you know what? F-Zero 64 is already on the service, the N64 service on Switch. Just redo F-Zero GX, the GameCube game. Just put that out. Just put a remaster of that out. It does everything you need it to do, and then people will be happy. You don't even need to make a new F-Zero game. I don't know. Who am I, though, to say what Nintendo is going to do? It's just, the gumption of this dude. The sheer balls on
really
this guy.
wants an F-Zero game.
So congratulations to this gentleman.
At $40K, he probably have started development on a new F-Zero game.
Well, part of me is like, cool, good for him. But also the other part of me, it reminds me of the whole petition to change Sonic in the movie thing.
Yes.
It's like, I feel like fans are too powerful. Fans are getting what they want too much. Ever since the Mass Effect 3 ending debacle, I feel like fans get what they want too much, and I don't know, weirds me out. Like, creators create what they want. Like, creators dictate what art they make. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah, but you can always ask for those creators to do better, which we do constantly in the music section.
Yeah, we sure do. So have you been playing anything?
Yeah. Have you been playing any video games?
Oh, just more Neon White. That's pretty much all I've been doing. That game is still good.
Oh, okay.
I'm happy to report.
All right. I've been playing more Disney Mirrorverse on my phone. And I've also been playing Neon White.
Hey, how did you get your hands on Neon White?
I actually spent the $25 for it on the Switch.
Oh, so you're playing the Switch game?
I played the Switch version. I didn't get the Steam version. I think I passed you. Shocker.
But yeah, I mean, you have a lot more time than I do play video games,
well,
as we've discussed pre-pod.
It's really weird playing what's essentially a speedrunning game while watching speedrunning games.
Oh, yeah,
which, by the way, we need to mention.
Yes.
Summer Games Done Quick.
Wraps up today.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So
today.
Yeah,
no, it's today, but it's like at midnight.
Oh,
so,
sure,
yeah.
Anyway, so this is the last full day of speedrun. So go tune in to twitch.tv. Search Summer Games Done Quick. Find that. They're doing the Wind Waker run as we speak. It's pretty wild. But yeah, so...
currently at $1.8 million for Doctors Without Borders.
So you've passed me. Does that mean that you've just been powering through the levels?
Pretty much. I think I'm at Angel rank 55.
Okay, I'm in the low 70s, I think. Maybe early 60s or late 60s or something. I don't know. So you're probably a world ahead of me.
I'll probably a couple worlds ahead.
Have you been going back and getting platinums? Though?
That's the thing, though. I don't have to go back and get platinums.
Okay, all right. Brag.
What?
Are you getting them the first time?
No, I'm just redoing the exact same level over and over again until I get it, and then I'm moving on to the next level.
Okay, that's interesting, because I've been doing something similar. So what I've done, I have a whole setup now. I go through all of them first run, getting golds. I make sure I get gold on each one of them before I move on. And then once I've finished the mission and gotten a little story chunk after that, when they send me back to the hub world, I immediately go back and get all the presents and get all the platinums. That's what I've been doing. Before I move on to the next level.
I've been running first through it, trying to figure out, okay, I think I can pretty much skip this because there's no enemies here that I need to kill. So I could figure out, where am I trying to cut? Where am I trying to go around? Get to the end, then get platinum, and then go hunting for the present. And some of those presents are pretty tough to.
Some of the presents are it's weird ass places. Some of them are literally below the level. That happened twice to me.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I was like, "What the hell? How was I ever gonna know that?" Kind of thing.
As whipping the camera around, trying to find it. But because I've been playing on the Switch,
Yeah.
I have the gyroscope enabled, so I've been moving it around
that's how
every
you've
now
been
and
doing
then.
it, Okay. Have you been playing every level with the gyro?
I've only used the gyro every now and then, so because like if I forget to like move the camera up and I just instantly like move it up like or to the side like to where the enemy is, it moves it with it.
I mean, the game's pretty smart. It doesn't always you don't always need pinpoint accuracy, but every once in a while, in order to get that platinum, it will expect you to shoot an enemy in midair. Or like that one level where it expects you to quickly look up, shoot the glass, and then keep moving.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff like that where that really needs pinpoint precision. But it's like one thing in like a level full of things that you're doing. So it's not like life or death, but it's definitely if you want consistent platinums, or say you want to beat your friend's time, which unfortunately, since we're on different platforms, we can't do.
Yes.
Which sucks because I would love to have a speedrun competition with you on this game because it's that fun. But yeah, like you just got to send me screenshots.
I'll just come
time.
Well, good to have the Switch. I'll just come over.
Yeah, exactly. Show me your time. But yeah, so playing on the Switch, how's the loading times getting in and out? So Neon White is a game where if you fail, you immediately want to jump right back in.
Yes.
And I hear that the loading times take a little bit longer on the Switch.
If they do, I don't care because it's fast enough to where I'm not sitting there waiting constantly for it to upload. It uploads relatively fast. It's not immediate like you kind of expect from like the new SSDs and stuff, that hardware that's being used, and not just CPUs, but PS5s and Xbox. But it's still fast enough to where I don't mind, and it gives me time to actually think and plan out what I want to do next, instead of just having me sit on that load screen. Like, okay, let me now try and think. Well, it's like, come on, you want to go, you want to go, you want to go.
So ultimately, what do you think? Do you think I sold it well last week? Do you think it's a fun?
I mean, you definitely sold it well, and I think partly because SGDQ is running on. They've been running ads. They've been running ads for it.
Okay.
But also that
the audience.
It's like, oh yes, speedrunning. Wait, there's a game I can speedrun while watching speedruns.
Then, of course, the other elephant in the room. What do you think about the writing? Because that's kind of been the hot topic issue this last week on the internet. A lot of people are very, very polarized about whether they think this is a funny game or not.
I don't know about funny, but I do want to say that because there's no voice acting. Wait, there's no voice acting, right?
There is definitely voice acting.
Oh, I'm playing on mute.
Yeah, there's voice acting except for in the unlockable dialogue.
Yeah.
There's only a little bit of voice acting.
Okay.
Everything else, though, is fully voiced. So the plot stuff in between
I've been playing on mute.
Absolutely voiced.
I've been playing on mute.
Yeah, you missed out on some familiar voice actors that you would absolutely recognize.
So because I've been playing on mute, I've been using the voices in my head of characters that I know.
That's funny.
So Neon White is my general protag voice.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're right on with that
one. Neon Yellow. As soon as he mentioned John Cena, I said, okay, you just voice it by John Cena now constantly.
Yeah. Honestly, not too far off. He's actually voiced by Ian Jones Cordy of OKKO.
All right, you think you told me that. And then both Neon Violet and Neon Red are both voiced by Ashley Birch. One version is the Tiny Tina version.
Yeah, and the other one
is the Aloy version.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but they're not wrong in intonation, at least, is what I'll say. But Ashley Birch is not this game.
No, but in my headcanon, it is.
It definitely is.
Anyways.
Okay, well, but
and then Boss Cat is Bender.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Jump Maggio
kind of delivery. Absolutely, you're not wrong.
Yeah. I mean, they're just drawn that way. Like you want. It's just easier to invoke those kind of things. But yeah, headcanon just blasting away.
But writing wise, though, how on the cringe scale, what would you put it on? Have you been like, or have you been like, okay?
I put it more at 7. That's because they're leading into the over exaggerations of these characters.
I saw a good take on Twitter last week that I think sums it up really well. It's that, it was somebody who had put an excerpt of the review. I think that they did the IGN or Polygon review for it. And they had put it in there. There's like, the best part of those characters is that they're like, you think that they're leaning into like being ridiculous, but really what it is that they have no idea who they are either.
Mhm.
So they're leaning into these stereotypical things because it's like a placeholder, because they, just like the protagonist,
character-
White, have no idea
yeah.
who they used to be.
Right.
So they made up this identity, and the game is them trying to figure out who they actually are.
You mean it's like a role-playing game where everyone's leaning into the different
Yeah.
characteristics,
Yeah.
like excessively?
It's neat. I
What?
think a lot of people are missing that with how over the top it is.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely over the top. And if you're sensitive to like, oh god, this is so anime, then this is not going to work for you.
Oh, it was very anime.
It's
yes.
very anime. But yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying
we'll have to swap some times on those early levels, because
I kind of want to like now listen to it with game audio, but
Oh,
at the same
yeah,
time,
try out
I'm like, but my headcanon, I don't want to
you
break
might
it.
you might not love the voices when you hear the real ones, but and then of course the obvious question then that remains is, well, which one are you going to pursue? Yellow, violet, or red?
It's not giving me an option.
I mean, you do give presents to everybody.
Yeah, you give
in
presents
that
to everybody.
Hades, think of it as Hades, right? It's like you give it to everybody, but you can lead with one.
Oh, which one do I start with?
Yeah, which one is your go-to?
Oh, I always start with yellow.
Okay, all right.
Just
You
because
go
I
bro out.
Just because I want to bro out first.
Bro out. Okay.
And then typically red will be in the same area, so I'll just do that and then jump over to violet.
Initially, I was like, okay, red all the way,
Mhm.
but Violet's growing on me.
Oh yeah,
I think she's fun. Anyway, so yeah, well, I'm sure we'll check back into Neon White. I'm just saying right now, mark it July 2nd on this podcast. Might be between this and Horizon. It's really close.
I'm sorry, but
I
God
know
of War
you're
is
waiting
still
for God of War, but I'm just saying, end of the year discussion, I don't know. It's going to be really hard.
Interesting you didn't say Kirby on that list.
Kirby might have been just nudged back. I have to obviously finish Kirby, and I have to finish Neon White now. But yeah, and I probably actually have to go back and finish Horizon at some point too. But yeah, for now though, Neon White's going to be hard to beat for me.
I like that every level is quick.
Yes.
It's like every level you're supposed to complete in under a minute.
Yeah.
So which means that some levels take 30 seconds to complete. Some levels take 20 seconds. So you can get right back in and get through. I mean, I want to see the speed run of this game.
Yeah. Oh my God. I can't imagine.
Just Neon White, all perfect.
Yeah.
In what, under an hour?
Yeah. Oh,
30 minutes?
I bet. Yeah, I don't know, but it's going to be so fast.
Uh,
That's Neon White.
Yeah.
Any other video games? Not really, huh?
Nothing new. I did, for those of you who are paying attention.
Yeah, I always.
Yes. I do now have access to PC Game Pass. Hey, I haven't gotten into it yet, but I now have access to it. I'll be playing it more throughout the month of July into the end of the year. So new games that come out on PC Game Pass.
Check them out.
Including all the EA sports games. I will definitely be checking out.
Soon. And
Madden 23, right around the corner.
Stuff is coming up there too. They just added Assassin's Creed Origins to Game Pass last week. So yeah, there's a lot to play.
Yep. I just got to figure out if I want to play on the keypad or controller.
Yeah. Well, that'll be fun.
Yep.
But in the meantime, let's move on to the second half of the show.
Yep.
Why don't we? We always start the television section with the Sports Corner. The big sports news, of course, is that the Stanley Cup has a new home. The Colorado Avalanche have won. So yeah,
and they've already dented the Stanley Cup. So
I saw that.
congratulations.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, it's quick. I don't know. What do you think about the Avalanche? Is this? Oh my God, Siri, I'm not talking to you. Do you think this is well deserved?
I mean, yes, they beat the two-time defending champ, Tampa Bay Lightning.
Kept them from the three-peat.
Yes, they spread them from the three-peat. Congratulations to Jack Johnson, not that Jack Johnson, for winning another Stanley Cup.
Pancakes.
For winning another Stanley Cup. But yeah, well deserved. Like they were the top team in the Pacific Division. They were top team throughout the year. They beat the defending champions.
Yeah,
well deserved. Congratulations, Avalanche. Not since 2001, I want to
Wow,
say
so
that they won.
20 years.
About 20 years, yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, congratulations to the Avalanche. Next up, in a story that's kind of a culmination of something we talked about before, UCLA and USC have both committed to join the Big Ten Conference, dropping the Pac-12 starting in 2025.
This means the Pac-12 reverts back to the Pac-10.
Yep. Because they lose too. However, the Big Ten does not become a larger number.
Does not become the Big 12.
It doesn't make any sense, but hey, it's college football. What are you going to do? It's
So,
college sports, I guess.
completely out of left field, and by that I mean the left side of the United States there.
Yes, exactly.
UCLA and USC have both put in application, and they've been accepted by the Big Ten Conference to join starting in the 2025 season.
Yes.
So they go 22, 23, 23, 24, and then they go 24, 25 is when they officially begin.
So, of course, we've talked about this before when we talked about the story before. This is just a marketing move, right? This is mostly like we want to see where, like, we want to be part of the thing where there's the most eyeballs, where the merch sells the best. This is purely a business move.
This is 100% a business move, but this is also a bowl game move because USC at UCLA, however good they may be in the Pac-12, will never be seen as true competitors to the rest of the NCAA.
As long as they're over there.
As long as they're in the Pac-12 because of the teams that they play. Basically, USC, UCLA, even Stanford would need to be undefeated to even be recognized to considered for a bid in the on the 4 playoff spots.
So it seems like they made this call because the system is completely broken for them.
Oh, it is. We know when you constantly have 2 SEC teams,
right,
and 1 ACC team, that only leaves 1 open spot between the Big Ten and the Pac-12 to fill in for the college football playoffs.
Yeah. That's frustrating.
Yep.
And
so
they're trying to get around that frustration.
Yep. So this, of course, follows in the footsteps of what we reported on last month and the previous year of Texas A&M joining the SEC, of just these college town schools moving around in divisions, and eventually we're going to get to 2 super divisions of schools that just play football.
Well, the super division.
Eventually, completely ignore the other sports that exist within those schools.
Yeah.
Because football tickets and football money brings in all the money to basically fund all those other sports.
And yet we can't pay the athletes. God, no.
Oh, yes. Because NIL.
Yeah. What the hell?
Yes. Anyways, what this does mean is that I wonder if Arch Manning now forfeits Texas A&M to go to LA, UCLA, USC, because they're joining the Big Ten Conference, and he can live in LA, hook up with all those movie stars, like be in Hollywood, and still get a chance to play in the college football playoffs. Because that's why he went to Texas A&M, and not just because of the coach over there.
Is this just a long con for you to get him as a Ram?
A long con to get him to UCLA,
and then,
in the blue.
Then get drafted immediately to the Rams.
Yes, he just becomes the mayor of LA.
It's the long con right there.
That's the long con right there.
Oh boy. Speaking of drafts, though, Pablo Banchero from Duke has been selected as the #1 overall pick by the Magic in the NBA draft.
Yep, and then a bunch of other players were drafted after him as well.
Yeah, other people happened, but really, it's the Pablo Banchero news.
You only care about the #1, and then everyone else after that is just they get drafted.
Sure. We'll hear about them in 10 years.
5 years.
5 years.
And then you're like, oh, they were all the same draft class? Why, yes, it wasn't a bust like the 2012 draft class, which we don't talk about.
We don't talk about that. Speaking of something that most people don't talk about, but here on the Media Boat Podcast, we do.
Oh, that's a perfect
The
segue.
USFL, the championship game is coming up, and the Birmingham Stallions will face the Philadelphia Stars.
Yep, that game is tomorrow.
Are you going
July
to watch
3rd? It is in prime time on Sunday
shit.
at 7:30.
Wow.
Easter time, which is 4:30.
That is the death time slot, is what that is.
7:30 on a Sunday?
No one is watching television but okay.
No, it works for
You,
football.
USFL.
Oh wait, no, they start at 5 on a Sunday.
See what I mean? That's like a baseball game. That's an East Coast baseball game time.
Yep.
I don't know. Are you excited at all for the USFL championship game?
Oh yes,
All right.
it's a championship game. This means that these are the best 2 teams.
Does it though? Are these the best 2 teams?
Yes, the Birmingham Stallions
All right.
only lost 1 game this year.
Hey,
And
good for them.
Yep, good for them. They are the expected champions,
Sure.
but they got to beat the Stars first.
All right. Meanwhile, in other sports, Wimbledon happens this week, so get your tennis on.
Yep, wear your white. You see any of these protests going on?
No.
There's leading into Wimbledon this week.
Mm.
A lot of the female athletes have come out and spoken up against wearing white in Wimbledon, especially because women they're forced to wear white, and it does not look good if you get your period.
Sure.
During that time.
All right. It's riskier.
It's a lot riskier, and it's a lot more noticeable.
Sure.
So they've it's not a boycott. It's kind of mandatory that you have to wear white. It's kind of like the uniform for Wimbledon.
But they're basically trying to protest to get that changed.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Well,
they're saying that
this
is the one tournament where you're forcing us to wear a specific uniform.
No other sport does
No
this.
other sport does this. No other tournament in tennis does this.
Right.
Why do we have to wear white here?
Yeah. Yeah. That's unfortunate. Well, hopefully they get their way here. I would love to see a win for this.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, in sports news that you have written down here, Universal is going to shut down the Olympic Channel starting September 30th.
Yes, they've already shut down the sports channel for them.
Yeah, but I guess now the
NBC
Olympic
Sports
Channel.
Yeah, NBC Sports got turned off last year.
So I get why you would do this in a non-Olympic year, because in non-Olympic years, all the Olympics Channel does is show either prelims or old footage from old Olympics. Maybe some documentary.
I mean, we had the Olympics earlier this year.
We did, believe it or not. But what happens when there's Olympics again? Then do they lose a potential place to do that? Or do they just assume like, well, we have Peacock now and we can stream everything?
That's what they're going to do.
Got it.
Because in 2 years, they can fully expand and fully integrate their sports channels into Peacock. So in 2 years' time, once all that development has been put in place, they can say, hey,
Peacock is the home for the Olympics.
Peacock is the home for the Olympics. Watch every sport live and replays with coverage on Peacock, and to get people to sign up for Peacock.
It does certainly make a lot of sense to do that, do it that way. So
it just took them 10 years later to do it.
We had to get to our streaming future.
I know.
To get there. Any other sports news before we move on? Should we really briefly talk about the Melee?
The Melee?
The Melee.
Yes, we should talk about the Melee. If you were in attendance for a Angels versus the Mariners, you were also in attendance for a boxing match.
All right, so...
or was it a UFC wrestling match?
I know, right? Did see somebody on Twitter compare it to an octagon.
Yep.
But yeah, so real briefly, bench clearing brawls happen every once in a while in baseball, not as much as apparently they used to. Seems like in the 70s and 80s, this was a way more common occurrence. These days, usually when benches clear, usually there's like a bunch of bodies next to each other, but it usually doesn't go to punches or pushes or doesn't become violent right away. This was a rare exception to that. And from what I understand, it's the first one of these we've had in a while. Essentially, the short version of what happened and what spurred this on was that in the Angels versus Mariners game at home here in Anaheim, Phil Nevin, who is interim coach after Joe Madden's release, changed a little pitching strategy for a game and did an opener instead of a starter, which basically means take somebody from the bullpen who's typically a reliever, have them start before the person who's going to take the brunt of the most of the game. So he led with rookie Andrew Wantz. I believe Andrew is his first name.
Yes, he wants to go by Wantz, but he wants it.
He wants it.
He wants it.
So that should have been first red
flag.
Yes,
as Gooby puts it, Wantz rhymes with pants.
It does. But yeah, so this should have been a lot of people's first red flag. Note there was already tensions in this series versus the Mariners, most notably because Mike Trout, after the game before this, expressed worry that a Mariners pitcher was aiming for his head at an inside pitch. He said a quote that I'm going to paraphrase here, which was like, if you're going to pitch inside, you have to do it well. You can't pitch inside and aim and go for the head. It's just not what you do. Like basically saying it's the responsibility of the pitcher, even if they lose control of the ball, to make sure it doesn't go up there. If you miss inside near like the torso, don't, like, the head is too dangerous. It is unclear still to this point whether or not that Mariners pitcher was on purpose aiming or just lost control of the pitch. It seems like the general understanding is it was just a missed pitch, which happens all the time in baseball.
Cue Andrew Wantz.
Cue Andrew Wantz, which it seems like, judging, so there were two pitches that he pitched in the first inning. Second inning? I forget what it was. Second inning.
I think it was the top of the third.
Top of the third, you're right.
Because Angels were pitching.
There was one that did seem awfully close to a Mariner's head. That got largely dismissed, but he was warned.
Mm-hmm.
Wantz was warned once this happened. But then Winker is up, and Wantz tilts toward him to pitch directly at his
rump,
let's say, not too dissimilar to that Sean Murphy bouncer we saw at the beginning of the season. The difference is, though, is that Winker didn't do a full turn enough, so it hit him on the side, which probably was pretty painful. So immediately, the Mariners start wondering what's up. You see movement happening in the Mariners dugout. You see the manager ask for Wantz to be ejected.
He makes the movement for him to be ejected.
And Winker has to be pulled away by the umpire because he wants to dash at
Wantz.
Yeah, dash at either Wantz or the Angels dugout.
So Winker gets hit. He doesn't take first base.
Right.
He starts yelling at Wantz, yelling at the dugout. The umpire's trying to push him away.
Yeah.
He swims around the umpire to start attacking Rendon.
Yes, and then obviously that's when the bench is clear.
Who, mind you, Rendon currently injured and has a club on his arm.
So yeah, Rendon gets his hand on Winker's face, his left hand, which I saw, the funniest bit I saw on Twitter about this is only the second thing, the wildest thing that Rendon has done with his left arm this year.
Noting the home run he hit.
Yeah. So yeah, it developed into chaos after that. Yes. Everyone and both teams seemed to be involved here. People who you wouldn't think would be involved, like Trout and Ohtani, were involved. It seemed like mostly just to hold people back from causing more violence.
It was such a fight that they even cleared the bullpens.
Yes.
They came running down onto the field.
You saw people from the bullpen clear from the other side of the field. So pitchers were involved, most notably Angels pitchers Ryan Tepera and Iglesias. And you had management come in and get involved in this on both sides. So yeah, it just was absolute chaos. Nobody knew what was happening. People got hurt. Most notably, Angels pitcher Archie Bradley ended up falling his arm while he was trying to get over the wall of the dugout to go out to the field. You had a great moment of Iglesias throwing, shot putting a case of sunflower seeds onto the field in anger. And yeah, ultimately it led to
several bans.
Immediate ejection for Wantz and for Phil Nevin. And then later suspension for several players on both teams. Those suspensions are being either appealed right now or being played out. Wantz and Nevin are already out on theirs. So yeah, it's really set a tone for the Angels season, a season that's already been up and down roller coaster ride between a really strong start and then a 14-game losing streak, and now this. And it also shoots the Mariners season in the foot. They looked pretty good in that series. that might be it because of the key players that they've lost in their rotation from this. It could have long-term consequences for both the Angels and the Mariners season going forward, and could mean the wild card picture for the AL looks even weirder than it did before. All because of one brawl in one game.
But all this is not going to matter because currently the Houston Astros just went through a tear in New York, going 11-2 through both New York teams.
Yes. And guess who they're in a series against right now? Yes, you guessed it, the Angels, who they will absolutely guaranteed destroy.
I mean, they already went 8-1.
Yeah, last night.
It's
not going to get better, folks. It's not going to get any better. All I hope that it's a confusing thing. And as much as I'd want to be, so yes, it's established that we are Angels fans here on the podcast, but I definitely feel uncomfortable a little bit about how this went. I have doubts in Nevin's ability as a manager, the fact that he would seemingly do this on purpose and basically sacrifice a rookie pitcher to do so. I have worries about Wance for carrying through with the plan. I do respect the fact that he did not appeal his suspension and he's serving it the way he should, and he feels guilty very clearly. It seemed like there was footage on the field of him basically explaining to other players, yes, I was forced to do this and I couldn't say no. So at least he was honest about it. But that being said, I have worries about his he's
never managed an MLB team. He's been AAA manager.
Yeah. And so immediately, I'm glad he's an interim coach because this really sows some doubts. But on the flip side of this, it doesn't mean that the Mariners get off of this experience scot-free. No, Winker was an agitator through this entire thing. He even flipped off fans, which he did apologize for. That, at least. Nothing else, though. And the fact that he was really spurring it on. A lot of Mariners players were spurring it on and keeping the fight going when it should have ended. So everyone is at fault here. There's nobody gets off scot-free, but it definitely makes me less fervent of an Angels fan than I was feeling. Like I was all cylinders go this season, and now I have to feel like to maybe reel that back a little bit because it's just embarrassing. It's just an embarrassing thing for everybody involved.
But if you want to vote as that for best fight, the ESPYs, occurring in 2 weeks, hosted by I think he won MVP. Steph Curry.
Yes.
NBA MVP Steph Curry.
It had to be him.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, speaking of the Angels, though, for the ESPYs, Shohei Ohtani up for some very key awards here.
Yep.
So I hope he at least deserves to be recognized. He's having yet another MVP season already.
Yes, he is.
We're only halfway through. Him and Trout look stellar. Their numbers are fantastic.
It's the other seven people.
Everybody else. Well, we'll see how the season goes, but it's a dark time right now, and hopefully everybody can figure it out. Oof.
Anyways, we actually have TV news to get to.
We do have TV news to get through. Yeah, it's a slow week. We can spend time.
Oh, I know. We don't have a whole lot.
We're already halfway through the show. We're only an hour in, so we're doing okay.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of extra thoughts here.
All right, let's move on then into television news proper. We start.
That's what I want to say.
Yes.
Lastly, in sports news, because I thought that's what we were going to go to. Then we pivoted.
No, we pivoted.
Today and tomorrow, 2-day event. Money in the Bank. WWE.
Sure. Yes.
Ladder matches.
Yes.
You got to climb to get that Money in the Bank contract. It takes place in Vegas this weekend, which means if you're planning to go to Vegas for 4th of July for all the fireworks and fun, you got to deal with all the wrestling fans too now.
Well, good luck with that. All right. Anyways, now let's move on to television news. We start television news with a little bit of a follow-up story about some unionization happening with The Simpsons. Production workers at the long-running animated television shows The Simpsons, American Dad, and Family Guy have gained voluntary recognition from their parent company, 20th Television Animation, to join the Animation Guild. Woo! According to a statement from the union, quote, the production workers won with 90% support across all 3 shows. Jason Jones, not that Jason Jones, a production supervisor for American Dad, said that he hopes the move is a beacon to other animation production workers. He says, I would hope that it galvanizes everyone else to organize and recognize their own self-worth and not believe in that old studio construct that production is somehow a stepping stone to a better career path. Because, says Jones, many of them love the jobs they have now. They don't want to move on to something else.
Yep.
So good for them getting that union recognized by their parent company. That is always the biggest hurdle for something like this. It's not hard to organize your workers. It's hard to get the company to recognize it. And so this means that they can start going to the table and get terms that they deserve.
Yep. The next ones to drop are the just Royland production studios,
Yes.
and I think some of the Netflix guys.
So hey, all power to it. Hopefully this steamroll keeps on rolling and we get more organization in the world of animation.
Collective bargaining,
yes,
at its best.
It works. Our second story takes us to the magic makers over at ILM, or the Industrial Light and Magic. They're, of course,
those Star Wars people.
Yes, the famed Star Wars special effects team that's worked on other stuff as well. They've built a new stagecraft LED stage, just like their existing ones, which features a 95-foot LED screen up in Vancouver. This marks the company's 5th of these, following 2 in Manhattan Beach, 1 in Burbank, and 1 at Pinewood Studios in London. This new studio will start with the upcoming Disney Plus series Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Quote, with ILM stagecraft technology, we allow filmmakers to design, light, and shoot the digital world as they would in the practical world, all integrated in front of the cast and crew on stage, says Chris Bannister, executive producer at ILM Stagecraft. Recent Disney Plus productions that use this technology include The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the upcoming film Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I also believe it's been used sparingly, but definitely has been noticeable in Ms. Marvel.
Yes.
I saw one particularly awkward-looking shot this last week that I was like, oh boy, this lighting looks super unnatural. This has to be Unreal Engine. So.
Yep. So while this is great for like story artists, production artists, it does mean that actual physical stages are going to be similar. They're not going to be the big spectacle, especially when you can put them on an LED screen.
Yeah.
This does kind of bode well for Percy Jackson and the Olympians if it's going to be looking like The Mandalorian, like Obi-Wan.
Right.
Similar in that aspect where you're going to have these vast worlds built with ILM, built with Unreal Engine 5. It's going to look good. So we can kind of like not worry about that anymore. But instead, now we have to worry about actual production people.
Right.
Might be losing out on jobs and contracts because it's going to an LED screen.
It's like a lot of major changes when it comes to
new technologies.
New technologies introduced in filmmaking or television production.
Yep.
Is for whatever
advancements,
things it cuts, like whatever shortcuts it provides. Equally, somebody out there who had a job that they were relying on does eventually lose that because of this technology. And on top of that, we also see some growing pains happening with this technology. As I mentioned, a lot more people are becoming more familiar with what it can do, but also with the limits of it. And sometimes you can see the seams in some of this. I saw a lot of people talking about certain shots in Obi-Wan looking kind of awkward.
Yep.
So yeah, as with anything, it's just going to be a learning experience for everybody involved. And hopefully they'll figure out how to make this stuff look good.
Yeah, I mean, that just comes with time, with experience, with people who aren't necessarily hired now, but because new Unreal Engine 5 is out, like you right now working in your house on Unreal Engine 5 can master that craft and become a production designer on shows like this for Disney Plus using a 95-foot LED wall. That is massive.
It's huge.
It's big.
Yeah, we'll see. The future is probably going to be full of it. So we'll only have to wait to see how it looks. Let's move on.
Or if anyone wants to step in and be a competitor against them.
Right? Somebody wants to try to come up with something better. Let's move on then out of television news into some television that we've been watching. What is Rise?
Okay, so new on Disney Plus is a movie called Rise.
Okay.
And just by the name Rise, it could mean literally anything. It is a terrible name.
It's an awful name.
So this is a film based on the story of Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Oh, okay.
and his brother, and how they were able to rise out of the Greek society, their troubled past, to become drafted by the NBA.
Okay.
Now, if this seems very familiar, it's because this is very similar to the story I talked about last week, starring Adam Sandler.
Yes. So it sounds similar.
Yes.
Except this one's a true story.
Except one, this one's a true story, and two, this one is about the player
Mm-hmm.
and not the manager or
Right.
agent.
Yeah.
So it does deal more with like the humble beginnings of Giannis in learning basketball, learning what it is. The only thing one of the main things I have is that because you're playing actors as they are older, but in the timeline they're younger, but you can't really show them age because you have to keep the same actor. It's the same kind of issue that you have when you watch The Blind Side, how he looks the same throughout all the years of high school, and he doesn't change. But in order to show that growth around everyone else.
That's funny.
Also, this is very similar to another sports movie that I recently watched, American Underdog.
Oh, right, yeah.
Where if I know what the outcome is and I know where it's going, how much of this like struggle and perseverance am I really invested in if I know where it's going to get to?
Yeah.
Because I'm just waiting for it to get to, okay, is he going to the NBA?
Right.
Like, I know he's going to the NBA.
You know he's going there.
I know he's going to be drafted. He's there now. He's a big name. So, like, when we get up to that part, how much of this is just artificially built tension for the sake of tension in a film?
Right.
This does also fall into kind of the other collegiate athletes with troubled stories that they have. Like they did the one about the Clemson safety called Safety.
Yes, I remember that.
Last year. Same kind of, actually shot very similarly. Similarly lit. I think it might be the same production company actually, but exact same kind of thing. If you want kind of like a feel good, hey, I like this sport and I want to see someone who struggled but made it, and kind of like that inspirational story.
Yeah.
Go watch Invincible instead. But if you want to watch Disney Plus, then just turn on Miracle, because that's a better movie than this.
Okay, well, however,
let
me pitch you a situation in which maybe this would help somebody make a decision. So I maybe mentioned to you before that friend of the show, Christy, has this idea that she wants to get into basketball next season, but she was trying to pick a team.
Mm-hmm.
She initially expressed interest in the Lakers. I was trying to move her away from the Lakers because it's too predictable.
Yes.
So I suggested, well, what about the Clippers? And she was like, maybe. But then she did her own like looking around, as we suggested that she did.
Yes.
And she landed on Giannis as an interesting player, and thus wanted to root for his team.
Yes.
Because she is also of a Greek background, and she thinks that's interesting. So should she watch this movie to get to know him a little bit more and his story in order to continue her adventure here about choosing between, he's on the Milwaukee Bucks, right?
Yes.
So between the Bucks and the Clippers, ultimately, as the team she follows.
Yes, please follow the Milwaukee Bucks instead of the Clippers, for God. Please.
Oh, okay. All right. You're picking a side already.
Well, I'm anti-Clippers because I'm pro-Lakers.
Sure.
But also the Clippers are getting their own arena soon. Unnecessarily next to the new SoFi Stadium. Yeah. I don't really like that.
Side note, though, if she does end up going with the Bucks, how does she watch a game? How does she watch the games? Do we have to subscribe to?
I want to say
the NBA package.
I want to say ESPN Plus
has
most of the games.
Oh, do they? Okay, I already have that.
I want to say they do.
Okay,
we'll have to wait around till NBA season comes back.
I'll have to take
but yeah, no, it's good. I mean, it does. So because Giannis grew up during the 2008, 2007, 2008 financial crisis in Greece.
Yes,
it does delve into some of that on the parent side as they struggle to become citizens of Greece. But there's also a lot of like the extra layers and the struggles that people who like are trying to seek asylum, seek new residency in a country, go through. And it's kind of that's the main plot of Rise. That's the A plot. And the B plot is the basketball until it swaps, because you realize, oh, this is Giannis
Uh-huh.
Kempo. Finally, we're in him actually playing basketball.
Now we're doing the
and being
basketball
scouted
thing.
by basketball players.
Right.
Now we're going to move into that and how these clash now. And so there's like this built-up tension of it.
Okay.
So if you like Giannis, if you like the Bucks, yeah, it's a good movie. But just keep in mind that a lot of these shots and the way things are created artificially for the built suspension and tension.
Absolutely.
It is a movie after all. It's not.
Right.
It's inspired by a true story.
It's not a documentary. It's a fictionalized account of something that happened.
Yes. It's not like this one person was the reason this happened. No.
Right.
It's an amalgamation of different characters, of different people in real life, but they consolidated into one person.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I'll let her know. I'll let her know that this exists, and maybe she'll check it out. But yeah, thank you for the advice. Because I was kind of pushing her that direction too. But she, most recent thing she said was that she was going to try to watch a little bit of both of their games early in the season and see which one she liked better. I'm like, all right, go for it. But we'll see what happens when we get to basketball season.
I mean, we can also show her Donald Sterling in the Clippers. That makes sway her mind.
Maybe. All right, let's move on then to something that I started watching this week. I don't know if you caught up on this as well.
Yeah, I know that it was starting this week. I have not watched the first episode yet.
So the first two are out.
Okay, the first two are out. I've not watched these episodes yet. They were on my watch list, but currently going through some reconstruction and didn't have time. But it is definitely on our list, and we will definitely be checking this out.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about Only Murders.
Only Murders in the Building is back. So I did not watch season 1. Christy did. But as of last week, I have now been fully caught up. I binged basically in 2 weeks all of season 1. So I'm all caught up and was able to jump right into season 2. I'll get this first thing. I don't love this show. There's some things about the tone of it that I'm not a super fan of. I think that some of it is very, very funny. I think that all the actors are very good at it. It's good in it, especially Steve Martin and Selena Gomez. I think they're perfectly cast here. Martin Short is Martin Short. You get a lot of Martin Short from this. I think it's a fun concept. I think the too close reality of what it's like to be a struggling podcast that nobody listens to was very funny to me as well. I don't love when it tries to get too serious, though. I don't love when it gets into those moments where it's like, oh, but we're actually trying to pull on your heartstrings. And we're actually going to use this obvious metaphor to tell you something. I'm like, that's when I kind of tune out, honestly. So I'm of two minds about it. I think it's fun, and I definitely want to see the mystery part of it. But I think the show is at its best when it is going for full, nonstop. We're trying to find out what the mystery is. Less character stuff, more solving is what I want. And when it's doing that, I think it's really fun. And I'm happy to report that so far, first 2 episodes of season 2, absolutely get that tone right off the bat. Stuff gets real immediately. Stuff starts happening immediately. They've established all the characters already, so they know what they need to do and get right into the action, and this does that. They're going some interesting places with it.
So question. End of season 1, it ends on a cliffhanger.
Yes.
Does it do the TV thing where it solves the cliffhanger immediately and then goes into the new murder?
Not really, actually. Yes and no. They obviously have to, try not to spoil anything here.
Right.
They obviously have to leave you and let you know immediately, yes, you will be dealing with these same characters for the season. So they do kind of clean up that question. But they are still very much, let's say, at risk in the plot of season 2. And that has not been erased. They are not in any way off scot-free from the events of the ending of season 1, is the way I'll put it.
Okay.
They still are part of the conversation. And so that is part of the tension of season 2, is that how do you continue a true crime podcast when you yourself are possibly in the mix, is the way I'll put it. But yeah, it still remains an interesting concept for a show, and I like the direction it's going in. So yeah, I'll stay up to date with it, and yeah, we'll probably talk more about it when it wraps up.
Yep, and that's a Hulu show.
That is on Hulu, so check that out if you got it.
Also, speaking of Hulu, show I'm going to be checking out. It's short. It's only, I think, 7 episodes, each half hour, called The Bear, on FX. Well, it's on FX, but it's also on Hulu because Hulu's FX now.
Yes.
Cooking show, restaurant tour show based in Chicago. I've been seeing a lot of good stuff on this. 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. High scores on IMDb. I'll be checking this out. It's a short, 30 minutes each episode, so you can binge watch it in the afternoon.
Good.
I'll be checking this out and reporting it on next week.
Okay, cool. Well, look forward to that. All right, that's it for television. So let's move into cancellations, renewals.
What am I no longer watching?
We're no longer watching Duncanville on Fox, as that's been canceled after 3 seasons.
So
never watched a single episode.
Caveat on this: there's still like 4 episodes that were unaired. They're supposed to be part of like season 4.
They're gonna burn them on Hulu.
They're gonna burn them on Hulu.
All right, that's what you do. Next up on FX, The Old Man has been renewed for a 2nd season. HBO is bringing back True Detective for a 4th season.
That is supposed to be set in Alaska.
Oh. Apple TV Plus says that the 3rd season of C will be its last.
Where they are all blind.
Yes, that's the Jason Momoa is blind show.
Yes.
Christy just told me that one of her coworkers said that they watched C, and we were like, "Oh my god, somebody actually watches C!
Someone saw?
Somebody saw C!
You know, you can see Saw.
You can see Saw.
And you can saw C.
And also, you may have seen C." Anyways, Paradise PD will get a 4th season on Netflix. Tom Swift is the latest casualty from the CW, canceled after just 5 episodes.
That was a spinoff from the Nancy Drew.
Yep.
No word what they're going to do with the final, remaining season that they've already shot.
CW remains cleaning up as if they're about to be purchased.
Yes,
they're about to be purchased.
In our constant watch, we're still waiting on for that other shoe to drop.
Wait for it. Maybe next week. It seems like from the thing that I read this week says maybe next week.
It's always next week. Just like God of War news.
Yes,
it's
just like God of War news. Maybe this week. Field of Dreams canceled on Peacock before it's even aired. So no episodes will exist of this thing.
Yes, they were promoting this thing.
Yeah.
And then this week they said, nope, we're just stopping production. Nothing's happening.
They saw the cruelty of baseball during that Angels and Mariners game and then just decided, no, we don't believe it anymore.
Or it sounds like, let's make a series about that instead.
The Brawl coming next fall. Magnum PI gets 2 more seasons on CBS. That will go through its 6th. Why Women, I believe, Kill, not Woman. Why Women Kill, canceled after 2 seasons on Peacock.
Might have been Woman.
Unless a caveman is writing it.
Why Woman?
Why Woman Kill. The Time Traveler's Wife. Sorry, Mike. Canceled after 1 season on HBO Max.
It's
done. No more Time Traveler's
So
Wife.
apparently they only got through the first third of the book.
Oh no.
Of the Time Traveler's Wife.
We'll never know.
We'll never know what happens next.
We'll never know. And then lastly, something called 10-Year-Old Tom has been renewed for a 2nd season on HBO Max.
That's what it said.
I don't know what 10-Year-Old Tom is.
I don't know. I think it's an animated show.
I bet it is. For children, probably.
Yep.
Let's move on to the movies section. We always start movies with the weekend box office numbers. Your number 1 movie is, I'm never going to stop calling it this, Baz Luhrmann's Elvis.
No, stop it.
So it is. A $31 million debut. It did okay. Did well enough to beat Top Gun Maverick, which is your number 2 movie, and another $29 million. But,
oh, no, only a $2 million separation?
But don't worry, because Top Gun Maverick is at $520 million domestically. It is a huge hit.
It passed the $1 billion worldwide, once again proving that Tom Cruise is the last remaining box office star.
He is the big box office star still. And
that this means that the upcoming Mission Impossible
will do well.
Will do well.
Yes. Number 3, Jurassic World Dominion coming in with another $26 million. That's at $303 domestic.
Good for you.
The Black Phone premiered this week with $23 million. And rounding out your top 5, Lightyear holding on to $18 million this week at $89 domestic. That is a bomb.
Yes, but that will cross the $100 billion mark.
Maybe, yeah. It will, but not for lack of trying. Not for lack of effort. Pixar is probably staring at those numbers and being like, what did we do? What happened?
It doesn't look like Buzz Lightyear.
Next week, though, Minions will be on top.
Yep.
get ready.
It's a Minions weekend.
Yes,
So
Minions weekend.
plus it'll get the 4th of July bump for the extra day.
Yes. But next week, your new release will get everything out of its way. Thor, Love and Thunder finally comes out in theaters on the 8th.
I will be seeing this on the 7th
Cool.
on Thursday.
Thursday.
And I will have my thoughts on this next week.
So tune in next week for Thor Thoughts. Double T. Let's move on into movie news. Our first story revisits somebody who has been a little far from the limelight lately, but will be making her return. Cameron Diaz.
That Cameron Diaz.
Yes, after stepping away from Hollywood back in 2018, Cameron Diaz will return alongside Jamie Foxx in Netflix's action comedy Back in Action. Not to be confused with Looney Tunes Back in Action from 2004. Her last film was in 2014 with Jamie Foxx in the Annie remake. To help ease her out of retirement, Jamie Foxx brought in someone who knows a thing or two about returning to work after hiatus, Tom Brady.
Yes, they are on a 3-way call.
Weird. Seth Gordon of Horrible Bosses fame is directing the movie from a script he wrote with Brendan O'Brien, writer of Neighbors.
So could be comedy. Yeah. Could be a comedy.
So sure, Cameron Diaz, a lovable, lovely actress. Happy to see her return
from a holiday.
So yeah, good to see her back in the biz and doing some more movies. But man, that story mentioned Jamie Foxx 3 times.
Yes. Well, because I don't want to confuse
Did
Fox.
we mention Jamie Foxx?
By the way, Jamie Foxx is in this.
Anyways.
The story about Cameron Diaz. But by the way, Jamie Foxx in a new film.
May we remind you?
Yes, the story also mentioned that Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz were also in the Any Given Sunday film with Al Pacino from back in 2000.
Meanwhile, our second story takes us to the Hollywood Critics Association. They had their mid-season awards this past week, and they couldn't get enough of Everything Everywhere All at Once.
And neither can I.
That film won Best Picture, Director, and Screenplay for the Daniels, Best Actress, Supporting Actress, and Indie Film. Austin Butler, meanwhile, was named Best Actor for his hip-shaking turn in Baz Luhrmann's Elvis.
Damn it, no.
And Jordan Peele's Nope was selected as the most anticipated film for the second half of 2022. That's the Hollywood Critics Association. So, they seem to have tastes that line up with yours.
Yes, they do.
So,
but yeah, looking forward to Nope, which comes out at the end of July. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm telling you, it's a good film.
Soon, I'm sure, to come to streaming service near you.
It is available for purchase on streaming services,
right.
Not available for.
So it's up on digital,
streaming, yes.
But wait a little longer for the streaming release.
Yep. I still don't see a word of where it's going to land. Because it is in A24.
Yeah, so they kind of pick whatever they want.
Yep.
So we'll see. All right. No movie thoughts this week.
Nope.
Kind of we're on a holding pattern until next week with Thor.
Yep, like I said, I'll have Thor next week.
We're not going to see Minions.
Nope.
And you were right about Marcel. It doesn't go wide until next week.
Yep.
So
because I think that's what I have. Nope, I don't have here.
Oh, so maybe 2 weeks.
Maybe in 2 weeks.
I don't know. It goes wide later. But yeah,
right.
So I'll eventually see that movie, but not quite yet.
Yep.
But yeah, then that means that we're done with movies, and holy shit, we're done before our usual time here. Hour 20.
What is this?
Cooking.
80-minute podcast.
80-minute podcast. So thank you for joining us here at the Media Boat Podcast for a quickie. We'll be back next week with hopefully more news to talk about and more thoughts. We'll get all 4 on you.
Yeah.
Thunder is coming down.
I mean, this is also like the pre-4th of July stuff,
Yes,
so there's always no news as we
Right.
get into the holiday here.
So as we continue through summer, more Media Boat podcasts to come. So thanks for joining us this week. If you want to see the video versions, whether it's live or archived, you can go to our YouTube channel by searching YouTube for Media Boat Podcasts. There you can find our page, like and subscribe, and click the bell for notifications of when we go live, typically on Saturday mornings. If you want to kick it old school with audio, you can do so on your podcast service of choice, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, search Media Boat Podcast and you'll find us there. You can also find us on social media channels like Twitter, where we're at Media Boat Cast. Facebook, search Media Boat Podcast to find our page there. And if you have comments, questions for us, feedback, recommendations, anything at all that you want to say to us, you can email us at mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com. We'll read your emails on the air if you do that. So thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week. Have a good week.
Yep.
Don't get sunburned. Don't blow up your hand with a firework. Please be safe and sane this weekend.
Don't be Jason Pierre-Paul.
Yeah, don't be an idiot. That's
Yep.
what I'll say.
Have a good weekend. Have a safe weekend. And we'll be back next week with thoughts, especially from Thor. We'll have Thor thoughts for all of them.
See you then.
Bye. That's definitely what I'm naming next week's episode.
Thor
Thor
thoughts.
thoughts. Thor and Thor thoughts.
Thor thoughts. Thor.